Hey, living environment students. Today is going to be looking at energy pyramid stuff. If you remember, the last activity we did was not energy, it was food web and food chain. So now we're going to kind of take that one more step further and do some energy pyramid work. So it's a little bit tricky how to access your stuff, so make sure you're paying attention. It's a little different for my 9th graders than it is for my 10th graders, even though we're doing the same stuff. So first things first, we are going to add, that's the wrong folder, excuse me, we're going to add this activity to our distance learning checklist. So for 9th graders, living environment 1, the only thing that's different is your numbering is different. And the only reason that your numbering is different is because my 10th graders did a long lab and it was all part of number 9. So the 9th graders did things separately, and so they ended up racking up more numbers, but you've all done the same number of activities. So in the 9th grade distance learning checklist, you'll see that we are out of rows here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the last 3 because I think it's close to the end of the year here. We only have about 3 activities left, maybe a 4th one. But so I'm going to put down insert 3 rows below. There we go. So now this is going to be for the 9th graders, number 17. It is still ecology notes, but it is going to be energy pyramids, and it is still Google Docs. It's also a drawing again, which actually this one really was a drawing also. Google Docs and a Google drawing. If you remember, you had to search for animal pictures and then add in the arrows in a Google drawing. So today we're going to do something similar, only we're going to make a pyramid. Okay, so that's for the 9th grade checklist. For the 10th grade checklist, it's the same thing, but 9th graders, now you're going to see why they're only on number 14, because, well, number 9 was 4 different parts to it. So same thing, it's going to be ecology notes. And it is energy, computer seems to have a delay on it here. Energy pyramid. And this will be Google Doc and drawing also. And this one really was also drawing. Okay, so that'll be number 14 for 10th graders and number 17? Number 17 for 9th graders. It is the same activity though. So in order to get to this, in your Google Classrooms, you are going to go back to the previous one. So 9th graders, you're going to go back over to number 16, which I've pulled up, and you're just going to pull up your notes document again. You should each have your own ecology notes. You're going to open that up. For 10th graders, same thing. It's just instead of going back to number 15 or whatever they're going back to, you're going to go back to number 13. And same thing, you should see ecology notes. You should see your copy of it. Make sure you don't make a second copy. I don't think it will let you. I think it's going to give you your copy of it. But you can open that up. And we are going to start, I'm going to close this out. We are going to pick up on page 7 in the notes. So remember from the last video I said we're going to skip around a little bit. So we're skipping, I think the last thing we did was probably bottom of page 5. So we're going to skip page 6. I can show you what that looks like. This should probably be the last thing we did, I believe, is food chain versus food web. We're going to skip page 6 and part of page 7. We're going to pick right up here in the middle of page 7 where it says energy pyramid. And you're going to see this picture on the slide that I'm going to show you shortly. Okay, so that's what that will look like. So we're just going to talk about energy pyramids today. Let's see. Yeah, so here we go. Energy pyramids. So in an energy pyramid, which this picture right here is basically like a half of a pyramid, there would be a whole other half. The amount of energy available in a food web will decrease with each higher feeding level. So it's going to decrease as it works its way up the pyramid. We talked about this last time, but only an average of about 10% of the energy from one level gets transferred to the next level in a usable form. So in this case, the algae, when the shrimp eat the algae, the shrimp are only going to get 10% of the energy that the algae had. When the Arctic cod eats the shrimp, they're going to get 10% of the energy that the shrimp had. So you can see these pieces here. This piece is bigger, and although they're taller, they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller as you move up the food chain. Energy is not transferred. It is lost as heat. Therefore, an ecosystem needs a constant supply of energy from the sun, which is why the sun is so important to all of our ecosystems. If the sun were to burn out or go away or, whatever, that would be the end of life on Earth as we know it. It would first of all be very, very cold. But after that, it would pretty much be the end of life on Earth. So we're skipping that. So energy cannot be recycled and reused within an ecosystem, but materials can. So many materials must be recycled in order to maintain the ecosystem. That is, in order to make the ecosystem be self-sustaining, which means it doesn't need any outside interference. So both bacteria and fungi fill the role of decomposers in an ecosystem and help to recycle the materials. They help to recycle materials such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, both through living, which are biotic factors, and non-living, which are abiotic factors. I know that you did the vocabulary on biotic and abiotic, but it's important that you understand that biotic means living or once was living. So like the dead squirrel on the side of the road, that is still technically a biotic factor, even though it is no longer living because it was once living. Abiotic factors are things that were never living. So an abiotic factor is like the rocks, the soil composition, the non-living soil composition, so the minerals and things like that are in soil, the weather, the water temperature if it's an aquatic organism, things like that. All those things are abiotic factors because they were never living. Water was never living, the weather is not living, rocks are not living, nor were they ever. Okay, I'm going to skip this stuff, or I'm not. Okay, so in this picture, this is actually a practice Regents question, but it's got a great energy pyramid in it. So on the bottom here is always where your plants are. Your plants, remember, are your producers because they produce the energy. So this is called a trophic level down here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 trophic levels in this example of an energy pyramid. So the bottom is always the plant. The second one here, they have crustaceans, then sunfish, then the great blue heron. So I'm not going to make you do this, but go ahead and just eyeball how many algae organisms there are in here. I don't know. It's a lot. I don't feel like counting it either, okay? Ask yourself, are there more or are there less organisms in the algae level, in the level D, than there are in level C? Well, hopefully you can clearly see that there are less organisms, there's less crustaceans in level C than there are algae in level D. Same thing here. As you move up the pyramid, the amount of organisms that live in that trophic level become less and less, okay? Because this level gets its energy right from the sun, so it gets tons and tons of energy. Remember that the producer level, or we can call this trophic level, is either called producers or, producers would be what you would call it. That's pretty much the only thing you need to know about it. The next level up, these organisms are considered consumers because they consume the algae. They do not produce energy inside their cells, but they consume the algae. So the amount of crustaceans that this amount of algae can feed is less. So it's not 1-to-1. It's not one crustacean is going to just eat one bit of algae. One crustacean is going to eat a number of these, which is why there's not enough, or if there were too many crustaceans, they wouldn't all survive. So this level here, this trophic level, is called the consumer level. It's usually typically called the primary consumer, because it is the first consumer you get to after the producer. Level B here is, you'll see there's only 3 sunfish. So each of these sunfish, just like before, are not only going to eat one crustacean because they're not going to get that much energy from them. They're only going to get 10% of the energy. So that's going to require each of these sunfish to eat more than one crustacean which is why only 3 can survive at this level, because if there were, let's see, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, there's 15 crustacean. If there were 15 sunfish, then there'd have to be a lot more crustacean to feed them all. Okay, so this level here is also called the consumer level, but this one's called the secondary consumer because it is secondary. It comes after the primary consumer, after the producer. The next level up, again, the blue heron. Blue heron's going to eat the sunfish. There's not going to be a whole lot of blue heron in this ecosystem because there's not going to be enough sunfish for multiple blue herons to eat. So there's only really going to be 1 or 2 blue herons that are going to be able to sustain this ecosystem. If there are too many, then some of them just won't survive. So again, this is a practice regions question. It says, which level of consumers contains the largest percentage of total stored energy? So the key word here is consumer, because the largest amount of energy is always at the bottom of the pyramid. You lose energy as you go up, and the population of each organism gets smaller as you go up. So if you think about each of these pieces of the triangle as separated out, this bottom one would be the biggest piece. The next one would be the next biggest, and then this one, although this triangle is pretty big, it's really technically the smallest piece, supposedly, in this particular picture. In the picture that you're going to do, the top is, in fact, the smallest piece. But this question is a little tricky because it says which level of consumers, which means, well, forget about the producers, starting with the consumers. So the answer here is actually C, but a lot of times people put D because they're like, oh, the most energy is at the bottom, so it's got to be D, but they're actually just asking about consumers, which means not the bottom because the bottom is producers. Okay. Yep, that's where we're going to stop. Okay, so on your assignment today, you are going to find this diagram. I'm going to scooch myself over here a little bit more. So in this diagram, go away. There we go. Hi. In this diagram, you're going to have, it's going to be similar to what you did for the food chain web that you did last time. You're going to use that insert image feature. You can search the web. If you want to go out in your yard and take pictures, and you can just kind of email them to yourself, and then you can search your computer. You're going to put pictures of your organisms here. You may have to make them smaller, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. And then you are going to label the parts. Okay? So again, this bottom level, you're going to label it. So you just click in these boxes, and you can erase what I've written, and then you can type what you need to type. If you accidentally erase the box, you can do one of two things. You can click the undo button, which is here, and it'll bring the box back. If you did like 6 other things after you erase the box accidentally, you can just insert a new box. So this is here, you go to text box, and then you can click and drag and plop a new box in there. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one because I don't need it. But just so you know, those are your options. If you accidentally delete any of these things, it's not a huge deal. You have ways you can put them back, either undo or you can insert a text box. Okay. Over here, you're going to see it says fill in the energy pyramid and label the trophic level. So you're going to fill in the energy pyramid with pictures. In this level here, remember this is your biggest level. So in this level, I want 4 different organisms. They're pictures, so it's not a big deal. You can just look up pictures. This level should have 3 different organisms. These organisms should be plant eaters because they are going to consume these things down here. Okay? This level, you only need 2 organisms, but these 2 organisms should eat these guys here. Okay, so it's kind of like you're recreating your food web from the last time, or your food chain from the last activity. You're just adding more pieces to it and organizing it slightly differently. Okay, and then same for the top. You just need 1 organism in this top one, because remember, as you move up the energy pyramid, you're going to have less organisms, you're going to have less energy, and so you're going to not have as many organisms able to live at that level. Okay, so you're going to fill that in and fill in your trophic levels here based on what I explained to you, and then that will be it for your energy pyramid activity. I hope you're all doing well. Yeah, I don't have any other announcements for you, so I hope everybody's doing well. I'm hoping to get to see some of your faces soon, and I hope you have fun with this one. Take care.